The screening committee of the People's Democratic Party has disqualified Valentine Ozigbo from contesting the 2023 senatorial seat on its platform. Ozigbo, who was a candidate of the party in the 2021 Anambra governorship election, was seeking to contest the senatorial seat for Anambra South in 2023. According to a report by the 5-member screening committee chaired by Victor Okorie, Ozigbo was disqualified because he submitted his expression of interest and nomination forms after the deadline set by the party.
And Professor Abiodun Adeni, that's an associate professor of the Beige University, and of course he is a Rice News analyst. He joins us now to really have a conversation tonight about what is really happening in the politics in the midst of all that is going on. Abiodun Adeni, thank you so much for being here. Well, Ozigbo getting disqualified, does this come to you as a surprise, especially looking at, who has been there at the Senate representing the zone he is looking for? So let's not forget, he actually contested for governorship and now he wants to be a senator. What is going on really with the PDP in terms of its whole word council and the screening process, especially at the state level?
I think it's very disappointing, really, even if it is not surprising that somebody like Ozigbo will be disqualified, for any reason at all. I remember he came second at the governorship election, and he didn't just come second for the sake of it. He performed very well. He was said to have been very, very popular. He would have won that election, if not for the strong credentials of the one who eventually won, Governor Soludo, that is. Ozigbo will have carried the day. Then, of course, he's coming for an election that entails a smaller constituency. You will expect that it should have been an easier ride for him. And, of course, it's very disappointing for the People's Democratic Party, on whose platform he wanted to fly that flag, to shove away a candidate as credible as Ozigbo ordinarily is, But I think there can still be restitution. It's not late in the day. We're talking about a time where the younger ones, fresh ideas, the new breeds, like President Babangida would want to put it, where at a time where they should be in the fray and they are coming on board. And of course, machinations are being put on their part. What it tells me again is that maybe there are some parties that weren't satisfied with the showing he put up the last time, and they want to get at him. But whatever it is, I think it's unfortunate. They can still be redressed, and I think the onus is now on the PDP, to listen to his appeal and to put him back on the ballot, for the election.
Well, let's talk about zoning and rotation of powers, because that has been in the front burner as well. And a statement just released, joint statement just released by the Middle and Southern Belt Forum. We've heard from Afenifera as well in recent days. They are not telling political parties, do not tinker with your zoning and rotation of power arrangements. How serious should political parties take this statement? What sort of power do these pan-social-cultural groups weigh when it comes to politics in Nigeria?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. That question, it's very, very instructive. The social-cultural groups actually do not, apart from, moral suasion, apart from playing an advisory and advocacy role, I doubt if they really have that political potency to influence the direction of the parties. But that's not to say that they are spineless. They have their voice because they are largely populated by elders, experienced people whose wisdom, their wisdom can be very, very rich, and is often advisable, reasonable for the political parties to listen to them. But in terms of command of the votes, they hardly have that influence. So at the end of the day, it's still the political parties that will determine the direction of things, as the case could be. But back to the question of zoning, it's something that is still with us. And I also doubt, apart from the PDP that we keep hearing has something like that in their constitution, I doubt if APC has anything like zoning, written in their constitution. All we can achieve with zoning is about dialogue and debate. It's through dialogue and debate, through admonition, talking to each other, a dialogic process, where there can be understanding, peace building, and consensus, because it's something we can actually achieve through force, because election is largely about arithmetic of voting, and there's a section in this country, the northern section, where we have a preponderance of voters, and they have this potency, they have this power. All you have to do in the circumstances is to appeal, even though we're not saying that you should be a Lilliputian, come to the table, let's have a process of give and take, and let's reason together, but it can hardly be achieved. Wherever the power goes to can hardly be achieved through force. Everything has to be through peace building, tolerance and understanding.
Well, peace building and understanding. We do know that the PDP, even though they're not the party at the center in Anambra State, they actually wield a lot of powers, especially if you look at the National Assembly. And if you look at the list of those who were disqualified alongside Valentine Ozigbo, we see the likes of Honorable Chuma Nzerbe as well as Obinna Uzo, while those who were cleared as expected, we're talking about Chris Uba, the senator, as well as Senator Stella Odua, and even Tonya Nwoye, John Emeka, and Uche Ekwenife. She's actually been a strong woman of the Anambra politics when it comes to the Senate. But let's talk about, the PDP and the fact that the ward congresses is not just situated in Anambra State. They're going around to try to validate those who will decide who the flag bearer of the party, especially looking at the presidents will be, the delegates and all of that. Well, so far so good. We've seen the Congress has really been marred by some sort of controversies, and some of them even approving of it. So the PDP getting it right, do you think, with what we've seen so far from the Congress and all of that has happened during the weekend, do you think they're on the path to actually, reassuring Nigerians that, they're on the way to win power in 2023?
Yeah, Amaka, we can hardly be here, not there, with respect to your opposer. Valid opposer, no doubt, but it is still the character of our electionary process at whatever level. For us to have endless tension, endless contention, and that's what we see playing out, even at the small subliminal level of world congresses. And of course, it may not be a pointer to what's going to happen eventually when they get to Eagle Square or when they get to the national delegates election, where they will be electing their flag bearer. We just hope that they'll be able to put their acts together and provide a robust election for us all. Again, INEC is still waiting, for them to decide, so at the end of the day, we can have a robust, free, fair, credible, and transparent election, and above all, where peace will be the eventual outcome.
Well, let's take it back to the national level and this clamor for rotation of power and zoning. You said the APC might not have it in their constitution, but we do know it's a sort of convention for them. And when you look at their party national convention they just had, there was a swap of seats between regions, from the north to the south, from the south to the north. So they do practice it by convention.
Even if it's not enshrined in
exactly.
Some sort of agreement.
It's often a gentleman's agreement
that is not written.
Yes.
And because of the clamor for a southeastern president particularly, how long do you think zoning can solve the issue of our national diversity? Because some would say the reason we're having this conversation in the first place is because we've not been able to manage our diversity by other means other than politics, through politics. So how long will zoning be the solution, in your own opinion? Yeah,
that's a very fundamental question, but zoning is not like a magic bullet, saying that if you zone into a particular place. And we have made the point severally that there's no section of this country that does not have competent leaders. But the problem we have is because our politics is still one of patronage, one of compensation, where leaders still pander to the dictates or to the expectations of their own people, rather than elevating themselves above, their cleavages and seeing themselves as national hero. If we had had leaders in the past who have been able to act from these elevated pedestal, the clamor for zoning, the clamor for president coming from one section or the other, so that the person will not come in and begin to pander to his own people, would not be the case. But we have to be concerned about moving away from the culture or the advocacy for zoning, because it is a little bit primitive, a little bit crude. Even if we keep highlighting the question of politics being emotional, being sentimental, even if we keep talking about it being a solution the fact that we're a fragile plural democracy where we have to have integration and inclusion by ensuring the movement of the presidency from one place to the other. But the point still has to remain that if we're a nation, you know, bonded together, you know, in peace and progress, then we shouldn't be concerned about where the president comes from. As long as the person is seen as a Nigerian, a national hero, somebody who will not remind us of our differences, somebody whose decision will not be seen through the prism of his religion, his culture, his region, and all of that. You know, we're still talking about zoning because our democracy is still developing. It hasn't matured yet. Hopefully, by the time it matures, you know, we'll be able to sing a different song.
Well, some would say for the principle of fairness and equity, zoning, especially if it has been adhered to in the past, has to be considered in the 2023 general elections. But for now, we'd have to say thank you so much, Abiodun Adeniyi, Arise News analyst, for joining us tonight.